reading from Walter Brueggemann, Living and Thinking in Transformative Ways. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Romans 12:21. What counts for a Christian is how one lives. We are called by the gospel to live a different kind of life, to be engaged in the world and in the neighborhood in transformative ways. That is why Paul, after he makes his complex theological argument, ends in Romans 12 with a quite specific inventory of how Christians are to live in the world and in the neighborhood. Paul says, live in generosity as a giver. Paul knows that those who live in the gospel have been given an abundance of life, and they are to let that abundance from God spill over into the life of the neighborhood. That abundance among us is very often a material blessing, and it is to be shared. But it is also a generosity of spirit that reaches out by its very openness to let one's presence and attitude be a blessing to others around. Paul writes, extend hospitality to strangers. The stranger is somewhat different for us now, as we are variously preoccupied with differences in ethnicity, in gender, in nationality, in religious passion, or even in class. It is easy enough to be suspicious of strangers and to stay with one's own kind and exclude the others if we can. But Paul knows that in fact we are all strangers and aliens in the world, and we have been wrapped in God's goodness that gives us freedom to practice hospitality to others so that they may be welcome and make a home in our midst and be with us in the neighborhood of God. Paul writes, never avenge yourselves. He knows about trying to get even. He urges his fellow Christians instead to break that vicious cycle of getting even, to transform the thirst for vengeance into acts of forgiveness, so that one no longer needs to get even. Such a transformative act impacts both parties in healing ways, the one forgiven and the one who forgives. There is more that Paul highlights, but what a place to start. Generosity, hospitality, forgiveness. When we resolve to live that way, the neighborhood is transformed. You call us to overcome evil with good, to live a different kind of life than the one offered to us by the world. During this time of waiting, stir anew our commitment to generosity and hospitality and forgiveness, that we might be people of hope and healing in the neighborhoods of our lives.